Well, I just think they should make games that you can play on a table.
I know, right? Ridiculous. This age of COVID bullshit is really getting on my nerves.
Yeah.
And then we rearranged the living room, and that prompted me to spend more money.
So what'd you get?
I upgraded I had the old Steam Link, the actual hardware Steam Link, so that I could play Steam games from my computer on my TV. And I had 4 Steam controllers, and I've never 100% liked the Steam controllers. They're kludgy, to say the least. And the problem with the Steam Link is that that only covered like 2/3 of my games, because it's very difficult to get it to recognize games on like Origin or EA Games or whatever. And we have to have 30 different game launchers. And so I just said screw it, and I bought a NVIDIA Shield TV Pro with 2 controllers. And it is my new favorite thing in forever. It is awesome.
Well, cool.
So let's see. Okay, so is Liam on Skype, or is he having problems too?
He just didn't get the new link because he's not in the Facebook.
Oh, okay. If you can send that to him.
All set up.
Awesome. While you were doing that, I'm going to go get some more water. I'll be right back. Yeah, it was funny when I bought the Steam Link, because in like the last 2 years, really the only thing other than a bottle of whiskey every now and then, the only thing that I've bought for myself was my RC car. And so when I bought the Steam Link, or not Steam Link, the NVIDIA Shield, I was like, do I need permission to buy this? Because like everything else I've bought, it's like, oh, well, I need a new book that's going to go into the game library, This is like strictly for me. And I was like, do I need to ask somebody? Like, should I consult my wife first? And of course I did, and she said, yeah, do whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah, money in relationships is really, really weird.
Right.
My wife and I, we found the perfect thing. We were both working. Our incomes were vastly unequal. And we said, we combined all our money and our bills, and everything was combined. And we said, we each get an allowance every week. And there's no questioning what you do with your allowance. You can set it on fire if you want.
Yeah, that's more or less what we do. And, but like I said, I haven't really bought anything strictly for me. It's all gone back into the game, into the role-playing games, and so I was like, oh, wow.
Well, that's a tax write-off, right?
Right, yeah, right? It should be. All right, so we will be starting right where we left off last week. Welcome to Rime of the Frostmaiden. Before we get started, I'd like to thank the friends of the Greenwater Guildhall. If you're watching on Twitch, scroll down, you should see some tiles there. If you don't see the tiles, click on my profile image and those tiles should pop up. The first on the list is the Speechless Bard. She and her husband make beautiful tabletop or leather products for your tabletop role-playing games, such as leather covers for your core rulebook. She has a full line of dice bracelets, and she has a dice rolling mat that, when it rolled up, it looks like a spell scroll. Keep in mind that if you're ordering for a gift or something else, a time-sensitive issue, you'll want to give yourself a little bit of extra time. She is in the UK, and it takes a little bit to get over here. Next on the list is the Fable Beard Company. Fable Beard Company makes beard products that include oils, balms, butters, and co-wash. They have a full line of deodorants now and spray-on colognes, and each scent profile is a different fantasy character. Today I am wearing the hero, which smells of warm cologne. I'm sure that they have a hero that will match your liking. And if you're a first-time purchaser, just go to their website, create an account, and you put 2 beard oils into your cart. And if you use the code FIRST, that second beard oil will be discounted to free. Buy one, get one. So where we left off last week, these guys had spent some time at the Black Cabin. Fumbling around. A couple of people got deaded and put into the border ethereal, but they all made it out after successfully fixing a design flaw in a device to control the weather. It didn't quite do what the creators had hoped, but around the Black Cabin there is a little bit of warmth, akin to summertime. The rest of the region is still in a deep freeze, and the party continued on to the prison of Revel's End. Let's see here. So, Crypt. Is Crypt on yet?
I am.
Okay. Crypt, go ahead and make a survival check.
Okay.
I always worry that if I fail a survival check, that means I didn't survive.
Right, yes. You died of dysentery.
19.
Okay. So you are able to point the party in the correct direction. And it takes you probably a good... from the Black Cabin, it's going to take you a good 5 days of travel to make it to Revel's End, and you're marching, you're heading over this open glacier ever steadily towards the sea of moving ice. And as you approach, this is what you see. So Revel's Edge is a prison set into a blade-like chunk of rock that juts out over the cliffside, over the sea of moving ice. And on the sea of moving ice, there is a dock where ships can come and offload supplies or prisoners. And then there is an elevator that goes up the cliffside to the prison itself. And the heart of the prison is a tower here that's built into this rock. It's just carved right out of the stone. Large, imposing structure. And there are 2 entrances. One, of course, by the dock going up the elevator, which is not the direction that you're coming from. You are coming from the southeast. Or, yeah, kind of southeast. And so, you approach the southeast entrance, and there is simply 2 doors into this imposing, almost like a pentagram fortress. It's actually called, it has a specific name. The Panopticon. Basically what that means is that it is a prison where the central hub can basically view and control all aspects of the prison from the center. Panopticon is what it's called. If you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, it's like that, where they get into the central hub of the prison to escape. That would be a Panopticon.
Uh-huh.
And so as you approach, you see 2 large iron doors, one here and another here. And this one here has a little window, like a little square cut into it with 3 bars in it, and there's a slider on the inside that's currently shut.
Okay. And the other door is just a solid iron door?
It's a iron door that has another, like a little eye slit, but it has a sliding door as well at about human medium creature eye height. So roughly 5.5 feet up.
And to review, we're here to talk to the mage that's imprisoned.
Correct.
And
So,
I forgot what his name was.
You are looking for a prisoner called Valish Gant. Now, the other thing that happened because Crypt died and was in the Border Ethereal, and then literally brought back from the dead, and this is more than like a resurrection or something like that. This was literally brought back from the dead by the god Lathander. Crypt is no longer carrying the Slod egg inside of him. He is cured of that problem, but you got the Valish Gant may have other answers concerning, the Arcane Brotherhood being in Icewind Dale. What is to be done about the current Rime, this 2-year winter that's going on. He is a font of information that should be explored, and so that's why you guys continued on to Revel's End.
Right. Okay, well, I think we need to, I will position my sled and get all the little doggies happy, and then go up to looks like the main, there's enough good traffic that looks like the rightmost door has scuffed out more of the ice than the left-hand door, so I'll go to the right-hand door and knock on it and say, hello, Revel's End.
Okay. Actually, let me fix something real quick. Turn the grid off. That's bad. Okay.
And we were seeking him out. The one reason I do remember, the last reason, was to have a second opinion on Crypt's cure, and because gods are fickle.
Right.
It's good to have a second opinion. But the other one was somebody was worried about him and wanted to make sure he was healthy.
So,
or
yeah, you got that a little mixed up. So, originally when you went to the Black Cabin, you were sent by a gnome named Copper because he was worried about his friend Macretus. And you learned that Macretus got himself blowed up creating his weather control contraption that you fixed. But Macretus was not returned to life by Lathander. Macretus was rewarded with his afterlife at Lathander's side. But you were directed to go here by the albino tiefling Avarice, who suggested talking to Valish Gant because he may have information on a number of topics. I mean, Valish Gant ended up being put into prison here because he previously attempted to take over Icewind Dale and to steal the Crystal Shard.
Okay.
So he may have information on why the Duergar are out scouring the countryside for Chardalyn. He might have information on why their winter is just lasting forever, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, what you could possibly ask him about what's going on is nearly endless.
Right. Okay. Got it.
So this door opens up, and a guard comes out, and to the right of this entrance, there's another iron door there that is a guard room, and the guard tells you, asks you what your business at Revel's End is.
Hello. Yes, I am Turpin, and these are my friends, Crypt and Rhonda. And we have traveled a good distance here, seeking to interrogate or discuss modern or current issues with one of your prisoners, Valish Gant, regarding a number of unusual events that are happening around 10 towns.
He says, generally, prisoners go by numbers. I'll have to look through our records to see who this Valish Gant actually is. But yeah, sure, you can stay here for 2 nights, and I will let the warden know. You can, and he goes over to the other entrance door, and he says, you can stow your dogs and your sleds in here, and they'll be taken care of.
Oh, thank you, my good man. And you would be, and you don't need to fill it in, but I'll be sociable.
I'm Bob.
It's good to meet you, Bob. I appreciate the work you do here.
And these are the other 2 guards, Robert and William.
Veranda will shuffle right up and start offering her heavily ringed and bejeweled hands for people to kiss on, and introducing herself and blushing and going through all those motions.
Make a charisma check.
I like those.
And yeah, Turpin will be extolling the awesome entertainment and vocal talents of Rhonda.
I'll use my inspiration point that I never used or anything to re-roll it.
Okay.
Yay!
I've decided I need to use inspiration on the first roll of every game because I forget.
Right.
Ooh, look at that shit.
Nat 20?
Nat 20.
All right.
And we'll offer to, if it's okay with them, to provide entertainment for the employees and anyone that they care to invite.
So
it'll be like a USO show for the prison guards.
Bob the guard really likes that idea. He kisses your hand, and he says, I'm sorry, are you royalty or are you just an entertainer?
Oh, time will tell if it might be a little bit of both.
That's awesome.
And she is happy to show off her writ of recommendation from the Lord of Caer Dineval as a premium entertainer, and wants to know, how often do you poor darlings have anyone consider your entertainment out here up in the snow in your terrible little prison?
So the first thing that you are all able to recognize, and Turpin especially, you recognize this. All of these guards are wearing the livery of the Lord's Alliance. Now, the Lord's Alliance is a pact between, let's see here, Neverwinter, Waterdeep, Baldur's Gate, Daggerford. I think there's another couple of towns in there. Maybe Silvery Moon. But anyways, it's a pact of all of these towns. Luskan has been trying to become a member. In fact, Beniago Kurth has been petitioning the Lord's Alliance for Luskan to become a member for some time. And all of the members of the Lord's Alliance are like, yeah, whatever. Piss off. Because they don't want pirates in their midst. All of these guys are wearing the livery of the Lord's Alliance. They're not wearing the livery of any one particular town. They're kind of like UN troops. And Bob explains as he's leading you in, that the entire complex, this whole prison, is actually run by the Lord's Alliance jointly. And he tells you that all of these prisoners are quite dangerous indeed. But they have all been stowed here because, one reason or another, it may not be politically feasible to just outright, execute them. Or maybe they have information, things of that nature. And let me reveal some more areas here. Oh my god, this thing's gonna be a pain in my ass. There we go. Man, everything's kind of laggy tonight. I think everybody had the same idea. This map is quite large. Okay, so he leads you into this area.
That's cool. That's a cool way to make a prison.
And while we're here, I have Sarah sitting invisibly on my shoulder the entire time because I'm sure they have ways to detect invisible spy-like things, so no spying.
Oh, yeah. So there's a couple of things, and it's interesting that you bring that up. So each of these prison cells, which are all in this Panopticon here. Hold on just a second. Never could pat my head and chew gum at the same time. So each of these prison cells is under an anti-magic field inside. So no scrying attempts, in or out, no spells, nothing of a spell-like nature will work inside of any of these cells. Outside the cells, however, is a little different. And you can see from where you're standing in the hallway, you can just see into the Panopticon that you can kind of make out these different cells. And most of the cells are filled. But there are many cells that are empty as well. So it's probably, the prison's probably at about half capacity. The reality is that for a major offense that would put you into a prison like Revel's End, the normal procedure is to just outright execute the prisoner. But like I said, the people that have political connections of one way or have information in one way or another, or something of that nature, will end up here until their sentences. Then some people that are here are serving life sentences. And it makes you wonder what kind of strings they were able to pull. But
Yes.
he brings you in and he leads you through a door in the guard room. And he says, you are welcome to stay here for 2 nights, and I will alert the warden that you're here, and tell him that you wish to speak to this Valish Gant. We'll go ahead and look up who that is, and we'll see what the warden says. There's no guarantee that you'll be allowed to talk to him, but the warden is usually pretty good about those things.
Thank you, Bob. Are we in 6? Is it?
So
I'm not sure.
he leads you through
Okay,
R3
gotcha.
into R7. He says you're welcome to take any room that is open. There are only 3 rooms that are currently occupied. Their doors are shut. All the other doors are open, and you can each take a room to yourself.
Mine's closest to the bathroom.
And as you're coming in, this first door over here opens up, and a well-dressed gentleman wearing a long royal blue, like velvet and fur cloak with white wolf's fur around his neck steps out, and he says, "Oh, it's been quite some time since we've had guests here. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Counselor Voss Anderton. I am the representative of Neverwinter."
Charmed, absolutely charmed.
And
Brookhorn at your
Yes.
service.
Okay.
so,
Turpin takes a step back and just stays quiet.
Counselor Voss Anderton, takes Haranda's hand and he kind of leans forward and kisses your hand and he says, "I have actually heard of you. I've heard of many of your excellent singing qualities. Will you be performing for us here at the prison?"
It would be my absolute pleasure, darling. Absolute pleasure. Can't wait.
He says, there are plenty of rooms here. Pick whichever you like. I'm sure that the guards have told you, but usually these rooms are taken up by the council that runs Revel's End, but many of the counselors choose not to stay because of the obvious weather conditions. They're not hardy folk like we. He says, I, however, take my duty very seriously, and I never miss a meeting. So basically, every year, after a prisoner has served half their sentence, every year they are given the opportunity to come before this council of Revel's End and present their case of why their sentence should be commuted. And the council looks over their behavior in the prison, looks over, what kind of danger they are to the public, and then votes. And he tells you, he says, currently there are only 3 of the counselors here. I myself never miss a council meeting. There's also Counselor Jill Turbo from Baldur's Gate, and she's staying in this room here. And then he says, at the end of the hall, down on your right, is Counselor Kriv Nerixius from Daggerford. And it is our duty to vote on the behalf of these prisoners that come before us and to make any, decisions overall for the prison as a whole. And of course, the warden sits on the council as well, and he breaks any ties that may come about. Currently, that's not too much of an issue.
How delightfully democratic.
This door opens, and from being able to hear outside, and Jill Turbo comes out, and Counselor Jill Turbo is a halfling. However, unlike most halflings that you've ever met, including Thomas Blackthorn, who travels with you, Jill has a very serious face for a halfling. And she steps out and she sees you and she lets out a big sigh. She goes, so we're going to be having guests.
Rhonda immediately finds something to be secretly jealous about with this woman.
Yes. And Turpin is being is holding back and trying to fade into the wall with the presence, trying to figure out what's the significance of this Boss Anderson of Neverwinter, since that's the source of the assassin that tried to kill him earlier.
And Jill Turbo, wonderful. And Jill Turbo is actually a representative from Baldur's Gate. And she is the most serious halfling you've ever met. She doesn't appear to have any sense of humor whatsoever. If she cracks a smile, her skin might fall off. At the end of the hall, the door opens, and a dragonborn steps out. And he's a silver dragonborn. And this is Counselor Kriv Nerixis of Daggerford. And he says, oh, hail and well met. It's been quite some time since we've had any guests here at Revel's End. Being a prison, most people don't come here. It's not an inn.
Well, we seem to have need of information of one of the prisoners here.
Oh, which prisoner might that be?
I believe he goes by the name of Valish Gant.
He says, Valish Gant. I believe you're speaking of prisoner 237. A mage of the Arcane Brotherhood, if I remember correctly.
That should be him.
And Jill Turbo says, oh, yes. He's never getting out of here, so don't even entertain those thoughts.
I know. We're just trying to get some information about this dreadful winter we've been having. We suspect we may have some intelligence on the matter.
Voss Anderton says, "Oh yes, this long winter of 2 years has made the region intolerable. Intolerable. Even I look forward to my time of getting home and going back to Neverwinter, where, believe it or not, it's warmer than it is here."
Well, counselors, perhaps you might help us. I'm not sure exactly how to approach this Baelish Gant to get him to cooperate. Is there, other than simply asking and hoping for his goodwill or just desire to talk, would you have any recommendations for how to approach him to try to get some answers for questions? I would think that many of them, these here, would not voluntarily aid in the betterment of society, considering they're here to begin with.
Jill Torbo kind of snorts and she says, if you talk to him about anything to do with magic or, secrets of Netheril, which are buried all across Icewind Dale, I'm sure he'll open up for you. And Voss says, well, we don't want him to get his hopes up too much. We don't want him to entertain any ideas of escape.
Oh, no. Could you tell us, well, perhaps this is a little too early, and it's really not germane to our questions for him, but why is he here? And you've already told us.
Yeah, he goes into the story about how Baelish Gant, prisoner 237, attempted to take over not just the 10 towns, but all of Icewind Dale, using some kind of magical crystal. I don't know anything about all of that. But he says people in this region refer to it as the Crystal Shard.
Uh-huh. And does the time of his activity coincide with the beginning of this winter in any way?
No.
So it was a decade ago or something, or just
it was quite some time ago, like quite some time ago, 100 years or so ago.
Well,
but
interesting to hear how they caught the guy. But
Kriv Norixius says it would have been better for all if that drow Dris Do'Urden would have just put him to his sabers right then and there.
Oh, I've heard of him. Yes, very famous. So he's the one responsible for bringing Baelish Gant down.
Not. Yeah, kind of. It was a failure of the companions, being Wolfgar, Catti-brie, Dris Do'Urden, and Brunner Battlehammer, in that Baelish Gant didn't necessarily... They didn't kill him, and they didn't get the shard. He fell into a chasm. They thought he had fallen to his death. He did not, being an evil wizard as he is. That never happens. And so he then came back, tried to disguise himself, take over the 10 towns, before he was ultimately captured by the 10 towns militia and tried for his crimes. But it's Kriv Norixius, the Dragonborn, is of the opinion that everybody's lives would have been just better off if he really had fallen to his death.
Well, why is he kept alive? As I understand it, this facility is for those that could be rehabilitated or still offer some value somehow.
Jill Torbo just starts laughing when you say that this facility is for those who could be rehabilitated. She says, no. Nobody is ever rehabilitated here. She says, The reality is that Prisoner 237 is a member of the Arcane Brotherhood, and the Lord's Alliance, and Voss Anderton says, Jill, come on now, and Jill says, no, this is the honest to God truth. The truth is that the Lord's Alliance is scared to death of the fact that if they were to execute Prisoner 237, that the Arcane Brotherhood would just come in and lay waste to the entire Icewind Dale.
Oh dear.
So
how in the world is this place defended against someone like that? It would seem that there would be jailbreaks.
Well, she said,
or corruption to release these prisoners.
She says, well, that's why they keep Prisoner 237 locked up. Maybe as a bargaining chip with the Arcane Brotherhood, should they need it, or hopefully not, it never comes to this, but like a prisoner transfer, or any number of reasons. But yeah, he's not here to be rehabilitated. He's here to be used in political machinations, and really for no other reason.
Well, I definitely hope and believe firmly that this, I don't want to know, but that this facility must be able to withstand the Arcane Brotherhood's attempts to free this apparently vile man. So, very intriguing.
So, you are able to make your, rest in your rooms for a bit, get the chill off. Each of these rooms, let's see, what's it say? So, they're furnished identically. Each room contains a bed, a desk, and a matching chair, a claw-footed chest for you to store your personal equipment, and wall hooks for hanging clothes. There are continual flame spells that illuminate each room and can be suppressed or returned to normal light by uttering the command word lights. And the inside, there are no fireplaces or anything like that. You have noted that the inside of Revel's End is kept at a constant 68 degrees. Obviously, magically.
Yes. Nice. Okay. Yeah, Turpin's got the door to his room open, and he's yelling out into the hallway, Rhonda, have you seen these lights? These lights are amazing. If they go on and off.
Yeah, lights.
Forgive the old man. He's had some years on him, and they've addled his brain a bit.
Lights.
He's like 150.
To the north, in R6 here, when you turn around and look to the north, the hallway opens into a large mess hall. Tables and benches fill the room. Dishes and cutlery are stored in cabinets along the south wall. Meals are served here every 4 hours.
Okay. And after we've stowed our gear, we'll wander out to R6 and socialize with anybody that's in there eating and ask about where we might be able to sing and perform.
So Anderton Voss joins you, and let me move you up in here. Jill Torbo decides to stay in her room. She is studying a case of particular interest, but Kriv Neurixius joins as well, and as you are dining, Voss Anderton tells you, well, this would be as good a place as any, although we should probably get some more of the guards in here. These poor lads would probably enjoy such a joyous event. And he says, before you begin your performance, let me go get the warden, and we'll make sure that it's okay. And he,
Oh, yes, I was just asking about a venue, not so much trying to rush this. And of course, our star is the one who calls the shots on this.
certainly.
Crypt is going to take this opportunity to go fishing in the sea of moving ice, if that is possible.
Not interested.
I mean, I get free performances all the time.
Yes. Well, it's freaking cold out there. You're insane to want to be hanging around outside. That's all I can say.
But I like fishing.
All you're gonna catch is a cold.
I have resistance against colds.
Oh, these young people. I think they're invulnerable. You should enjoy the warmth while you have it.
I don't think I'm invulnerable. Remember, I died a few days ago? We both died? No, you didn't die. I died.
Got some things weighing on his mind.
So, Counselor Anderson, how are things in Neverwinter?
Well, it's been some time since I've been back. And he says, but Lord Neverember seems to be doing a good job of rebuilding the city.
And do I know why it needs to be rebuilt?
You would probably, everybody on the Sword Coast knows that, so about 100 years ago, probably around the same, a little bit after the whole events of Valish Gant and the Crystal Shard, there was a eruption of Mount Hotenow, and Mount Hotenow basically leveled most of Neverwinter in a lava flow. And but Lord Dagalt Neverember has been funneling money towards Neverwinter for some time, and he and a bunch of Mintarn mercenaries have shown up in Neverwinter to restore order and essentially rebuild. You know, on the sly, there are political. There's some political talk in Waterdeep that some of the money that Dagalt Neverember is spending to rebuild Neverwinter may have been embezzled from the city-state of Waterdeep itself. Because Dagalt Neverember was the open lord of Waterdeep for some time, but they finally had enough of his crap and deposed him. And so some of that money may have been laundered, which your previous characters know all about.
Right.
So Crypt, you walk around this Panopticon. There is a hallway that goes all the way around that the guards simply refer to as the hexagon. And it allows guards and visitors to move around without going through the Panopticon itself. And at the northern end, there is a door once more and a hallway, just like there was at the southern end that you came in. Hold on here. And there is another guard room to your left as you're walking out. And to your right is a hospital. So R4 is actually a small hospital for any sick or injured inmates. Or things of that nature. The door to the north leads out onto a large elevator. There's this stone walk that comes out, and there is an elevator that will take you down to a dock 120 feet down the cliffside to a dock down below. And so the guards, and that is controlled by the guards in the guard room in R3. The guards drop you down and you can fish off of the dock. There is no ship here currently.
Sweet.
Okay.
Probably what kind of roles you want me to make?
Go ahead and make a survival check.
Okay. Soft 20.
Oh. On soft 20, you are able to reel in a 15-foot knucklehead trout.
Nice. Is that big? I think, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Okay.
So, after some time, Voss Anderton and the warden make their way into the dining hall. And the warden comes in and she introduces herself as Marta Marthanis. Horonda and Turpin make a perception check.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So, Marta comes up and shakes your hands, and as soon as she comes within 5 feet of you, you can smell like she's stuck her head into a barrel of Steel Reserve. She reeks of dwarven ale. And it is clear that she is pretty much completely shit-faced. And Voss Anderton goes, oh, here, Marta, sit down. The performance will begin in a moment. And Voss Anderton comes over and he leans over to Horonda and he goes, do not take offense at her condition, milady. She suffers from an affliction. And I know what you're thinking. No, it's not alcoholism. Marta, he says, Marta used to be an adventurer, and she traveled with a dwarven companion that she was quite close to. His name was Vlox Braunanvil. And it seems that Vlox, he didn't make it. He was killed during their adventures. But his spirit has taken refuge inside Marta, and every once in a while, his personality comes to the forefront, and she goes on a drinking bender. But it isn't her fault. It's Vlox. So, but either one of them would enjoy your performance, sober or drunk.
Well, who am I to stand in the way of a good time?
So,
well, Rhonda will excuse herself for a good 5 or 10 minutes and go off to her room and build up some suspense and pretend to put on a little extra makeup and, adjust her hair just right and look at herself in the mirror, tell herself, I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star.
And Turpin will go and use the bathroom just to make sure that he's not inconvenienced during the performance.
Okay. Crypt, make a perception check.
$15.
So on your 15, while you're sitting out here on the dock fishing, you kind of turn and look up the 120 feet to the top of the cliff where the elevator ascends. And then you look up above that. So you got you can see a pretty good view, and all of these points that say R9, those are guard towers. And you can see guards milling about. They look like flies from this distance. They're very tiny. But then you look up above that, and the central spire of the tower goes up to the top. And it looks like from here that there is another dock that comes off the very top tower for airships. And you can see some guards moving around up there. All in all, you can determine that this is a very well guarded fortress.
Yeah.
So, Crypt, did you want to continue fishing?
I did.
All right, we'll go ahead and let you make another. Go ahead and make another survival check.
15.
On 15, you are able to pull out an 8-foot long knucklehead trout. And it would be longer, but it looks like something large has bit the back half of it off.
Oh my.
Oh, crap.
And it seemed that something bit it off as you were reeling it in.
Oh. I'm gonna keep fishing because I want to figure out what the hell that is.
Off in the distance, you can see a whale kind of hump up and come out of the water. And you can only see out maybe 60 feet clearly because of the low-level icy fog that covers most of the Sea of Moving Ice. But you think you see something rather large moving in the water in the fog. And when I say large, something bigger than a whale.
Hello. I'm gonna keep fishing.
Very chilly Leviathan.
I'm looking at the picture of Revel's End that is in roll 20, and I wouldn't want to be where you are.
Give me just a moment. I will be right back.
I might back up to the edge of the dock and fish from there, but I'm curious. I'm like, what is this? This is awesome.
So I have a question. If you cast Mage, can you cast it again and have two hands?
Let's see.
I mean, it's a cantrip. It takes an action.
Oh, the hand vanishes if it is ever more than 30 feet away, or you cast this spell again.
Ah, okay. There we go.
Darn it.
Only time then.
I have effectively Mage Hand, but mine's telekinetic, so it's, I was like, dang, that would be awesome. Shoot.
Well, no magical jazz hands for me then, I guess.
Yep, mine aren't visible, you can't see squat.
I'm gonna have to make myself a nice entrance.
Just let me know, man. I have silent image, so I can make explosive lights or an arch with vines and greenery that bloom flowers like a Disney princess, whatever.
You know, that sounds really nice, and I can combine that with my prestidigitation and make the flower the scent of roses or something.
Perfect. Yeah. So we'll work it out together and wow them.
Yeah. We'll make a little blooming entranceway or whatever as I enter the room, and I'll make some rosy smells, and it'll be nice.
Yeah. And if I know what the emotional thrust is of your performance, I can have like sad lighting or happy light or whatever.
Yeah.
Just blend it all together. Assume we've worked it out.
Oh yeah, we're going, low tones, mauve. I might have to snuff a couple of candles when I come into the room just to mood it out,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's not every place that gets mages or the arcane casters to perform for them.
Right?
Yeah, people pay good money for that.
Well, it's all about my renown. I gotta spread the name. Everybody needs to know who Rhonda Broadhorn is. Oh, I want her name on the tip of everyone's tongue. From Luskin to, I don't know, Waterdeep. We want it all.
We'll have neon glowing archway name and lights
Oh, yeah.
at the end of the performance with applause blinking.
Good stuff. Very good stuff.
Some of these spells would just be totally awesome in real life. I mean, a fireball, not so much. Road rage is already a thing. We don't need fireballs. But prestidigitation or silent image, man, awesome. Mage hand. That would be also another awesome one to have.
All right. So, Voss Anderton returns, and he has 10 guards that are currently off duty that he tells you were off duty, just sitting around in their barracks playing cards. They would love to see a performance. And Rhonda, you prep yourself and you come out and
Absolutely. She's got everything worked out with Turpin for a very fantastic entrance. I believe he's going to provide her with some magical flowers and blooms and stuff. I'm going to use my prestidigitation to snuff out a couple of candles and to create the smell of roses.
okay.
And we're going to set the mood, go totally ambient here before she launches into her first song, which is definitely like a romantic love song kind of thing. Very passionate. Think Celine Dion,
Oh. Okay. Half the guards get up and leave.
Come on.
Sorry, we're more fans of metal.
Let it snow, or what is it? What's the Frozen song?
Let it go.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. Sorry, we're Death Clock fans. No, as soon as they see all these flowers and they can smell the roses, they all start clapping immediately. These guys haven't seen anything other than each other and the prisoners and playing cards for months.
Well, my performance roll is a 26.
Okay. Did you make that with advantage?
I did not.
You can make it with advantage. Turpin is giving you the help action.
Excellent.
It's going to be hard to beat a 26.
Yeah, we're going to go with the 26.
Okay. So you break into your first song, and everybody in the room, even Warden Mathanis in her drunken state, they are all mesmerized.
I'm
And
hoping for a couple of sniffles out there in the crowd as she's doing the whole "my heart will go on" thing, and they're all imagining Leonardo DiCaprio drowning in the ocean.
Oh, yeah, we can have the movie scenes on the wall,
right.
The guards in the back are going, wait, he could fit on that raft.
So yeah, trying to really move them with the first one, and then we'll do some happier songs and maybe a nice drinking ballad for the afflicted warden
Okay. Crypt, make another perception check.
Perception?
Mm-hmm.
See if you can detect the Leviathan that's about to undermine the entire Revel's End.
19.
So suddenly your fishing is completely dried up. Like there's nothing biting on your line. And way off in the distance, you hear a loud splash. Like you can't tell if it's something falling into the water or coming out of the water. You just hear a large splash, and you see
It's Scarlet Markinoff.
you see off in the in the fog, you can see a large shadow. And when I say large, like it blots out everything in its from this distance. And it's hard to tell the distance, but you can tell that you can at least discern that it's a long ways out there, and it blots out everything.
Okay, I'm going to go to the end of the dock.
Okay.
further at risk.
No, to the other end.
To the elevator.
To the elevator.
Okay.
And I'm going to. Is there a guard at the bottom of the elevator?
There's a bell, a string that
ring the
you.
bell,
Okay.
like urgently.
Non-stop ringing.
And the elevator carries you up to the top floor. And as you are coming in, you can hear from way up above at the very top where the airships can dock, you hear, "Dragon!" And you can suddenly start hearing a klaxon bell sounding.
I'm gonna say to the guy at the top. So now there's a dragon and there's something huge in the water.
He says, "I think that thing that was huge in the water was probably the dragon itself."
Perhaps. Okay, I'm gonna go inside. I'm gonna sprint inside
Okay.
and warn everybody about what's going on.
Okay. Hold on.
Interrupt the performance, unfortunately, but I have to.
Go storming past all the guard checkpoints, screaming, "Dragon, dragon!"
But in more of not a crazy person way, like serious and urgent.
Be careful or they're going to sick the Dementors on you.
So, during the second half of your second song, or during this half of your second song, the lighting in the entire prison changes to red, and you hear meh, meh, and the guards all stand up and they're like, "Stay here, we're under attack," and they all rush out of the room.
I am not staying here. I am also going to rush out of the room.
So are you rushing back to the mess hall?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna know which direction the guards are going.
So
Pass them and get to the mess hall.
the guards are all going into the Panopticon and into R18, the central hub.
Okay.
As you are passing in the hall, you overhear two of the guards talking to each other. We think it's Aviatrix. White death is flying overhead. Crypt, you can make a history check to see if you know who Aviatrix is. Crypt?
Sorry, yeah?
So you can make a history check to see if you know who Aviatris is,
Okay.
or who White Death is.
Oh, that. It doesn't sound good. History is intelligent. Okay, so that's 15.
Okay. You know that White Death refers to Aviatris, the ancient white dragon. She is known for, at one time, she had a rider who was a wizard. But he died, and she could not bear the fact that her rider was dead, and his corpse still sits on the saddle on her back. And she is known for talking to this corpse, having complete conversations with it as if it is talking back to her.
All right.
That's not good for your mental health.
No.
I don't think being on the back of the dragon forever is good for your mental health. I don't think as a dragon, having something on your back forever is good for your mental health.
Terp and Hironda, what are you doing?
I'll talk to Rhonda and say, dear, whatever this is interrupted your excellent performance. I personally don't want to just stand here inside of this lightless room with no one to see, or find, or we can't talk to anyone. Let's wander this way and see if perhaps we can find out what's going on. So we're gonna head to R3. I'm gonna head to R3. I'm gonna try to talk Rhonda into going.
Okay.
I couldn't agree more, my dear man. Allow me to offer you my arm, and we'll stroll arm in arm together. And I will apply some bardic inspiration to him with the pat of my hand.
Okay.
And so we'll head to R3, and leisurely walking, and that's the only way out that we know of.
Right.
We're authorized to use. And do we see anyone? I mean, people, they're all running out, right?
So there are guards still stationed. Bob, Robert, and William are still stationed in R3. And they are maintaining their positions. Voss Anderton, as soon as you enter R3, Voss Anderton goes and locks himself in his room, as does Kriv Noxious. And the guards are in there, they're like, oh, it's White Death. I hope I'm not sent up to the top. I hope that they can fend her off.
And we'll ask about White Death and catch up to where you've already narrated this.
Correct. So they inform you White Death. They believe that it's Aviatris that's flying by.
Does this happen often?
More often than I like, is what Bob says. And about that time, the door opens and Crypt comes in. Guys! Aviatris, the ancient white dragon, is flying overhead.
What brings Aviatrix here, of all places?
Malice? I mean...
she attacks this fortress just because...
She's known for doing a flyby and letting loose with her breath weapon. She hasn't really attacked Revel's End outright, but sometimes when she's off hunting, she will, fly up out of the sea of moving ice and do a grazing attack across the tower as she's flying by. We try not to do too much to antagonize her because we don't want her to turn around and come back.
Smart, very smart. I've lived a long time, and magic has always fascinated me, and dragons are the epitome of it. Forgive this old man, and do not risk your life, but I wish to see this ancient dragon, and I'll try to make my way out, so at least I want to see it.
Okay.
I mean, you live that long, you get a chance to see a dragon. Holy crap! Yeah, I'm taking that chance.
So way up.
Yeah, Brenda's not interested. Not today.
Yes, my dear. I understand you have much of life ahead of you, but for me, this might be the last chance I'll ever have to see such a thing.
Don't do anything stupid.
Crypt, what are you?
And I close the door.
You see Turpin step outside, and what are you doing, Crypt?
I'm going to go to the center
Okay.
and cautiously-ish move to the top,
Okay.
if they allow me to.
Hold on just a moment.
I mean, the top of this thing is, like 100 feet above ground, like a 10-story tower. So if the dragon attacks the top of the tower, I'm thinking a little bitty, tiny, insignificant human down on the ground
Probably isn't going to draw our attention.
And I definitely am not going to be shooting at her because they don't want to piss her off.
Yeah. So the guards, Crypt, you make your way into the prison, and you knock on the door, the guards let you in, and there is a circular stairwell that goes all the way to the top. And in this prison, or in this central hub, you see so the first thing you see are all of these cells around, and the prisoners are kept in these, they're unlit, behind gates that can be opened only by a control console in the central hub. The gates are, you immediately notice these gates are way too secure to be opened by brute force or magical weapons or anything like that. And as you were told, the cells are also filled with an anti-magic field, and it encompasses, each field encompasses one cell and its gate. Bolted to the back wall of each cell is an iron bunk bed with a thin mattress atop it and a waste bucket nearby. Prisoners take their meals in their cells. When you get into the central hub, this is a hexagonal room is the base of the prison's central tower. A spiral staircase connects to the tower's upper levels. 7 guards are stationed in the prison and 3 in the hub. 1 sits at a console south of the staircase. The other guards watch the prisoners, whom they can observe through 4-foot tall, 1-foot wide arrow slits. Ah!
What is that?
Feedback. Would be feedback. So they can observe the prison cells through 4-foot tall, 1-foot wide arrow slits, and hanging on the walls between the arrow slits are 50 sets of iron manacles that guards can use to bind prisoners' wrists and ankles. The console that is bolted to the floor resembles a small desk with a slanted top. There are 24 switches on the console that appear to open and close gates. There's a 25th switch at the top that is a master control. A brass dial on the console can control the light level in the prison. And there is a horn, a flared brass horn-shaped, looks like the end of a trumpet that comes up out of the console that you can see that a guard is talking into this, and it is being broadcast throughout the prison to maintain your positions. We're under attack. Dragon sighting is what he's saying into it. And you can hear it yelled out throughout the prison. And the guards are, if you want to go to the top, be my guest. The guards tell you, we cannot be responsible for your safety if you go to the top of the tower.
I'm not going to go. You know what? They probably have way more experience than me.
I'm gonna make the logical decision and not go up there to Fable.
Okay. So these levels down, or these squares down at the bottom of the map, shows you the next levels of the tower. Level 1, 2, and the roof. Turpin, make a perception check.
I used my advantage to get a 20.
Okay. You look up and you can see that indeed it is a very large white dragon. And you can just kind of make out that maybe there's something on its back, but you're not sure because it's way up in the sky. And you see this dragon kind of sweep low over the top of the tower and use its freezing breath weapon to shower the top of the tower with ice and then fly off into the distance and leave.
Oh, that'll be great. I now can make much better illusions and images of dragons in flight and attack. That's great.
Yeah, that's true. So after a few minutes, the red lights change back to normal candlelight, and you can hear the central hub. From the central hub, the crypt, you see the guard lean in and says, "We're standing down. It seems that the dragon has been appeased and left." And the guards start to come back down out of the tower, and things start to return to normal.
Okay.
Rhonda, make a perception check.
Yeah.
So you kind of, Warden Marthanis came with you, and you, out of the corner of your eye, you kind of see the warden. She kind of leans her head forward and shakes her head, and she looks around, and with like a totally different voice, she says, I'm drunk again." And she says, What's going on? What's going on? Somebody fill me in."
Well, Rhonda introduces herself and offers to fill her in, and we'll also prestidigitate a cup of water and the hot mint tea for her head.
Okay. She sips and she says, I apologize for my condition. She says, "Who are you? Why are you here?"
Rhonda Broadmoor, an entertainer extraordinaire at your service. You, my dear lady, have just survived another dragon attack. How very fortunate for you.
No, that happens sometimes. Rhonda Broadmoor, you're like a famous entertainer, aren't you?
Oh, and becoming more famous by the minute, I assure you.
So what are you doing here at Revel's End? This is a prison, not a stage that a lady like yourself would normally perform at.
Oh, I'm well aware of that. You could call it a bit of charity work. My companions, if you will, seek some information from a prisoner here, and I thought, well, of course, it must be dreadful and cold and so very boring out here in your quaint little prison, and I thought I might share a little summer warmth and springtime breeze.
Oh, that sounds lovely. Could you lower your voice just a bit? My head is pounding. And Bob the guard comes over and he has a manila envelope and he says, sorry to disturb you, Warden, but this is the prisoner that they were asking about. And she pulls it out and she says, oh, prisoner number 237, one Valish Gant. She says, oh yes, he is a bed of roses to be around, let me tell you. She says, well, of course, you can stay here for 2 nights. I don't know if the guards told you that. We wouldn't send anybody out into the wastes, especially after a dragon attack. So you are welcome to stay the night here tonight and tomorrow night. But I must ask that you leave on the 3rd day because, I mean, this is a prison. We just can't be having people staying here. She says, but we'll make sure that your rations are filled and your supplies are brought up to standard. And she says, well, there's no time like the present. Let's go meet prison. You meet up with Crypt as he's coming out. And she brings you over here. Actually, hold on here. I knew she was on here, I just didn't see her because she was covered up. So she leads you over to this cell, and she raps on the bars and she says, prisoner 237, front and center. And you see this man sitting in there wearing, well, he looks like this.
He looks very well fed and very snooty.
Yes. He says, oh, bollocks. Why are there some silly adventurers come to talk to little old me? You can see the inside of his cell. He has used a broken off piece of rock to scratch in arcane sigils. Looks like he's doing mathematical, magical equations. And the warden looks and she says, prisoner 237, you know that we're just going to wipe those clean in the morning. I don't know why you insist on this. Madam, one needs to keep his mind sharp, even in the most direst of situations. Now, please, don't bother me any further. I have this equation to work out. What is it that you are asking of me?
Well, we have come here. We have heard that perhaps you might be able to be one of the few people that could shed some light on this never-ending cold wave that seems to have gripped the 10 Towns region. And we had heard that you were a master of the arcane arts and well, that, let's be honest here, that you were highly ranked in the Arcane Brotherhood, and thought perhaps you might help us understand what is happening here.
He says, Interesting. And the warden snaps her fingers over towards the central hub, and one of the guards inside flips a switch, and his cell door opens. And she says, "I'll allow you to go inside and have a private conversation with prisoner 237, but don't worry, he's not going to be able to harm you. It is an anti-magic field, so you won't have any spells either."
Understood.
And so she lets you inside, and then she snaps over, and they shut the door behind you. So you have a bit of private space inside this fairly dark cell.
Okay.
And
I dropped Sarah off just outside.
okay. Velishgant kind of chuckles, and he says, "So you want to know about Oriel?"
Oriel?
So you know that there is a lesser god named Oriel, who is the goddess, as it were, of winter and cold and everything that's fairly miserable. Hold on a second here. He says, "You're asking about the Frostmaiden. So she's the one that's responsible for this weather."
Fascinating. Could you tell me more? And how is it that you know so much about this?
Oh, I've studied many Netherese scrolls. You would be wise for you to do the same.
Oh, at my age, I don't think I could even begin to approach the quantity of knowledge that you have on this. I don't believe I have enough time, young man.
Make a persuasion check with advantage.
Oh man, both of those were terrible. I'll use my what is the bardic inspiration? What does that one give me?
Extra D6.
Oh, okay. I'll at least try to pull it out of the toilet.
Whole whopping 10.
So use bardic inspiration and advantage to get barely average when I have a +7 to my persuasion.
He tells you, he says, well, as to her reason for doing all of this, she's a god. I couldn't even begin to come up with any kind of situation. But he says, there are many pieces of magic throughout Icewind Dale that may help you. He says, what kind of assistance have you come across in the magical arts?
Oh my. And I'll proceed to tell him my story about how I was not magical at all. I was a merchant and hired people to do things, but then in my old age I came across an offer from a genie to and I thought in my declining years I thought I would enjoy something that seemed so frivolous to me in my youth, which was the exercise of magic. So
he
genie patron.
He rolls his eyes and he says, "Oh, you're one of those."
Yes, I fully acknowledge your superiority in knowledges of such things. All of my power is borrowed. I freely admit it, but I enjoy it so. It is amazing. I sort of sorely sometimes think my life would have been what could have been, but perhaps I would never have risen to the heights that you have.
He says, well, have you come across an albino tiefling? I believe her name is Avarice. She has quite a promising future in the Arcane Brotherhood.
Oh, yes. Yes, we. As a matter of fact, Avarice is the one who mentioned that you were the expert in such fields of knowledge, and recommended that we come talk to you.
Interesting, but she didn't mention anything about any Netherese ruins or anything of that nature, did she?
Carl doesn't remember.
She didn't.
Okay.
He says, you see, the Netherese learned their magic first from elves, and later the fabled Nether Scrolls. Netherese magic was far more powerful than present-day magic, so much so that it made even the gods tremble. He says, however, there's evil subterranean creatures known as the Rime, who were instrumental in Netheral's fall, but it was hubris and ultimately spelled the Empire's doom. Karsus, a Netherese archmage, tried to usurp the power of Mistral, the goddess of magic. He failed, destroying himself and tearing the weave in the process. It would be years before anyone could control magic again. This, of course, is all ancient history. But when that happened, Netheral had flying cities, and these cities crashed, and there is some that is here in Icewind Dale.
Some crashed flying cities are here, lying under the ice?
Yes, I would recommend seeking out the Lost Spire of Netheril.
How would we even begin to go about such a thing?
Well, I could help you, but not from in here.
And this would, you believe this would help to understand and perhaps restore this, the weather here, understand the source of the cold and restore the weather here?
Well, we may be able to either restore things to their proper order, or use the magic that we find in the Lost Spire of Netheril to force Aurel's hand in releasing her icy grip on the Dale. But I can't help you from inside here.
Or we could just fight her. Once we grow stronger, of course.
Well, it may come to that anyways, but I think it would be in your best interest to look out for anything that would give you an advantage.
Well, we would need to secure your release. However, I feel we talked with Warden Marta and heard a little bit of
this way.
Yes, doesn't
That
seem
chance,
like.
honey.
Yes, you are not much liked outside of this cell.
Yes. Do something silly like try to take over an area, and all of a sudden you're the bad guy.
Yes, history is written by the winners, and it is second place does not offer any benefits.
It tells you, he says, I'm actually surprised that Avarice, the tiefling, was actually here. I suspected that she might be heading this way. Long before I came to take over Icewind Dale, the Arcane Brotherhood was planning an expedition here to seek out the Lost Spire of Netheril, indeed. I'm surprised that Avarice made it this far, although, as I said, she's always shown great promise.
Huh, very interesting. Now, without we're currently cut off from magic here inside of your cell, but we had a separate issue to discuss with you. My friend here was unfortunately the host of a slod.
He brightens and he goes, "Oh, how exciting!"
Yes, very exciting and very terrifying to the host. We believe that the issue has been resolved, but we're unsure how to independently verify that.
He says, "Well, if you are able to secure my release one way or the other, I can certainly look him over using my mastery of the arcane arts and give you a definitive answer one way or the other."
How would you recommend that we go about securing your release?
Well, that, my boy, is up to you. He says, but...
Now, that's assuming we're inclined to release this
Well,
knowledgeable criminal.
Yes. Yeah, well, I was thinking that, of course, there is the adventurous jailbreak scenario, which, is always talked about in stories and tales. But in the real world, frequently, money or promises can leverage certain changes in attitude among those in power, or so I was just wondering if there were anything along the more realistic lines that Mr. Gant here might have in mind to entice those who are his captors to giving him a release. Right?
How about no?
I think the answer is flat out no, but I mean Carl thinks it is, but I'm giving Valish the chance to spill any plan that he might have, like I don't know, if he's asking, I'll just flat out, are you asking us to illegally and forcefully release you from this prison?
Oh, I most certainly don't have any plan in mind. However you decide to go about it, I will certainly go along with it. If you want to cause a little murder and mayhem getting me out of here, I'm certainly not one to object.
I understand. Well,
he says, my plan, of course I would follow along and guide you to the Netheril Spire. Before that we would make that journey, I would need to, of course, examine your young friend here, make sure that nasty, wonderful little egg is no longer inside of him. And then I would need to make contact with Avarice, wherever she is currently located. And then there would be one other stop along the way. Last I heard, there was a red wizard of Thay named Dazan in East Haven. He would be most beneficial with his information as well.
Red wizard.
We should release this guy.
Nobody does. We're only talking to him.
Well, and he kind of interjects, I have actually been there, so you could spend time looking all over the glacier for the spire, but there's little help to come, and unless you take me with you. I can take you directly there. Bypass all of the nastiness that happens when you're out alone on the glacier.
Yes, your knowledge is valued. The question is whether or not that value can equal your can guarantee your release. So we will need to talk about this. And the Red Wizard of, I forget, what did you say?
You said there's a Red Wizard of Thay in East Haven named Dazan. Dzaan.
so I think I've talked out with the guy. Anything you guys want to talk about, cover it.
It's been a pleasure, Mr. So-and-so. Have a pleasant incarceration.
That's a big no and a fuck you.
Yeah, so we leave,
Okay.
and when we regroup, what we find is that there's a lost spire of Netheril, and it's on the glacier.
Yes.
So we learned that much, and we also learned that there's a Dazan, Red Wizard of Fae in East Haven that we might be able to approach to learn some more, and also
That tiefling has
we could
more
go back,
information
yeah.
and she's been holding out on us.
Right.
we could talk to the team. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to ask him about was why is Avarice, who is also an associate of yours, free? Is it simply because while you're in prison? Is it simply because you were caught?
Well, she was a low-level apprentice when I made my attempt to take over the Dale.
I got it.
But as I said, she had promise. It's not any real surprise that she was chosen to be sent out here by the Arcane Brotherhood.
Right.
The Arcane Brotherhood has spent time sending expeditions to Icewind Dale ever since Authorotter attacked the host tower of the Arcane in Luskan and made off with many of our magical relics during the Draco Rage.
My. History just keeps unwinding.
Yeah, there is a lot of history going on.
Yeah. Well, plus everything that happens today is based off of yesterday and 100 years ago. It's like,
well, and he tells you that he said there were two expeditions that were planned by the host tower, the Arcane Brotherhood. The first was by a tiefling named Macath the Crimson, but he knows that he heard that she left, and he heard rumors from the guards that Macath the Crimson disappeared. Nobody knows what happened to her. And then he knew that there were discussions amongst the Arcane Brotherhood of sending a secondary expedition, but he didn't expect it to actually come to fruition. And it seems that it finally has if Avarice is here. But the Arcane Brotherhood is very much wanting to get back their lost magical artifacts that Authorotter stole.
And when did that occur? 100 years ago also?
No, the Draco Rage occurred maybe 50 years ago.
Okay.
Potentially happened inside Turpin's lifetime.
Yeah.
And basically the Draco Rage were these mythals that were created by the elves kind of went into meltdown and caused all of the dragons to go into a rather senseless rage. Now, it's funny that I say senseless rage because Authorotter is a white dragon, and white dragons are known for two things: being extremely pissy and being extremely stupid. So it wouldn't take much for a white dragon to go into a rage anyways, but that was what precipitated all this. There were other dragons that were involved in this. There was Chuth was involved in it. He did a lot of damage down in the Misty Forest. What is his name? I want to say oh, I can't remember his name, but there was a large red dragon that makes his lair in the spine of a red dragon that makes its lair in the spine of the world mountains. And it is rumored that this lair is actually the cold. When you enter his domain, the cold and whatnot disappears, and you're in nearly a tropical paradise up in the peaks of the spine of the world mountains, which are just to the south. They're basically the southern border of Icewind Dale.
Right.
And this dragon, this red dragon makes his lair up there. He is an ancient red dragon. He is known for he is known for having rings on his claws, and he is known for strapping wands to his wings. So he's basically he's basically a draconic flying battle fortress.
Yeah, it sounds like a player character.
He
that has the dragon. You can
right.
abuse the rules in every possible way.
Yeah.
Okay, I like this red dragon. So we talk about this, and we put together what we've learned from this guy that we're clearly not going to release. Although we'll share this with Warden Marta and say, yeah, he was trying to weasel a release from prison so that he could lead us to find the lost spire of Nethril on the glacier. And so we'll share that with her and
okay.
Get a good chuckle out of such a transparent.
She says, well, Prisoner 237 is up for a meeting of the council for commutation of his life sentence.
Well, what little we heard, I think, was it Jill Torbo was just openly mocking even the thought of it happening. Is there any chance that it might happen? And if so, perhaps we could spin it that our input influenced it so that we might weasel out some goodwill from this man, and perhaps he would help us.
She says, all right, well, I will convene the council, and we shall meet in the council chambers, and we can discuss this amongst ourselves, and then we can bring him in, and he can make his plea, and we can then make a decision on whether to commute his sentence or not. So she leads you into the hub and up the stairs. And she takes you up. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, there is a R20.
And we'll work out with her. Make it clear that we don't want to influence their decision, but if their decision might be, if their decision, if they're going to release him, would they mind if we gave an impassioned plea on his behalf or something to sort of artificially gain some points in his book? Yeah.
Yeah, we want to trick the guy, make him think that, if you do release him, then we helped, and if you don't release him, then, darn, we did everything we could.
Right.
So
really, we don't want to have any say in the justice of this at all.
We totally, we're completely on board that this guy needs to be locked up because he's power mad nut job.
Not.
So, Warden, the warden, Marta, she says, so obviously, so the guards bring the other counselors in, and she says, all right, so obviously this is a delicate matter that we need to look at the pros and cons of this. And she says, so my first question to put towards you and the council, or really put your answer towards the council. How important is it that you have Prisoner 237 be able to lead you to this spire?
That's not totally clear. We learned of the spire from Prisoner 237. So this could potentially be nothing but a ploy on his part. We don't have independent knowledge that this even exists or is part of the problem that's freezing all of the 10 Towns region.
And with no way to cast a, an insightful tell the truth spell.
Jill Torbo, the halfling from Baldur's Gate, she says, well, I will say Prisoner 237 is a complete bastard. But in the years that I've been serving on this council, I've never actually known him to be dishonest. He might manipulate the truth to his own ends, but I've never known him to outright lie.
I don't trust him as far as I can throw him.
Oh, she says, oh, no, you misunderstand me, madam. I do not trust him either.
Release of prisoners is frequently a political calculation, and we are not even playing that game. That is up to you.
So the warden tells you that rather than put Gant to death for his crimes in Icewind Dale, the Council of Speakers in the 10 Towns made a deal with the representatives of Lord's Alliance to have Gant serve a life sentence in Revel's End so as not to incur the Arcane Brotherhood's wrath. The Council of Speakers did not realize that Gant's little scheme wasn't really authorized by the Arcane Brotherhood to begin with, and really the Arcane Brotherhood doesn't give a shit what happens to him. It's been many years, and the Arcane Brotherhood, until now, with Avarice showing up, the Arcane Brotherhood hasn't come in and done anything. They haven't lobbied for his release. There's been no political machinations from the Arcane Brotherhood. It's almost like Prisoner 237 was written off.
Yeah, so he's just been filling up one of their jail cells for all these years and nothing else.
Right.
Well, okay, so is there... Now that Avarice is doing whatever the Arcane Brotherhood wants, and are they aware of Avarice, and what and her presence and her actions? Are they watching her, or is that completely new news to them?
Voss Anderton says that Harper agents are aware that Avarice, or an albino tiefling matching Avarice's description, has been seen in Icewind Dale. But as far as their knowledge goes, or as far as what they've been told by the Harpers, it doesn't appear that Avarice is really searching much for these lost relics, so much as kind of putting herself into a position with various cults throughout Icewind Dale.
Okay. So
perhaps that's part of her plan, but she seems to be ingratiating herself with cults.
Well, should you want to release Valish Gant, and we would be more than happy to keep you informed as to what he does with an eye towards his his plotting, because this guy's not going to give up plotting. There's just no way. So it may not be harmful to Icewind Dale and 10 towns, or it may be, but just for his own benefit, he's going to be plotting, and we would be more than happy if we were to travel with him to keep notes and provide you with intel into what it is that's driving him. But one question before we even bother to start that is, what is his history for outright murdering those that he is traveling with?
So before anybody can answer your question, Kriv Nerexus, the Dragonborn from Daggerford, slams his hand on the table. He says, "I can't believe that we're even discussing this. My oath will not allow me to vote for this criminal slime to be released. It is clear that Kriv Nerexius is a paladin, a lawful good one at that, and he is like, nope, criminals need to do time, period. And he made his bed, and he's going to sleep in it. And the warden, to answer your question, says, Kriv's outburst, she says, well, as far as Prisoner 237 murdering any of his comrades, there's not really any information on that. We've never heard of him really killing anybody that he traveled with prior to his incarceration.
Well, I certainly understand Krim's position. And again, for the last time, I will reiterate, we are not pushing for his release. We just wish to benefit from his release, should that be the thing that is decided by those that are in power.
So Kriv comes out straightforward and says, I'm voting no. Jill Torbo, she says, so my question to you is, if he is released, in your opinion, do you believe that he can help you in ending this everlasting?
I'll tell you why I believe it, except that since I have taken on this role and tried to redeem myself, that I have felt the hand of a higher power guiding my actions, and for some reason multiple forces have led me here. So I believe so, but I can't support that with evidence.
What does Crypt and Rhonda think?
I have a suspicion the man would just as soon kick us off the glacier as show us where it was.
When you say that, Jill Torbo says, well, that is probably true, but be that as it may, do you think that his knowledge can guide you towards summer once again coming to Icewind Dale?
I think he would bend anything he could to his own advantages.
Shazah, but wouldn't putting an end to this never-ending winter, wouldn't that be to his advantage?
Perhaps, but wouldn't it also not be?
Well, if we were to accompany him, we could be the voice that in his ear that is the way to his reputation's salvation. To be the one who has helped to end this unending cold might allow him to re-enter the societies that he is currently ostracized from.
So,
Wouldn't
go ahead.
wouldn't the unending winter also aid him if he did attempt to take over Icewind Dale once more?
Probably not. The reason why I say no is that it's so cold that the mountain passes that lead through the spine of the world to the south are completely frozen and blocked off. So everybody that is here is almost completely trapped unless they can book a ship that's leaving out of the Sea of Moving Ice. So, for instance, if you were to come to here, to Revel's End, if there was a ship here or an airship here, you could probably book passage to leave. But for most people that are in 10 towns, the entire region is pretty much blocked off from civilization. And I mean, it's that way normally. But it's even more, it's literally now, it's not a hard trip, it's an impossible trip because these mountain passages are filled with glacial ice. It is not easy to get in and out. So from a tactical standpoint, he has no support. He can't get reinforcements. He can't bring an army in, and he really has no contact to his support base. So, no, the everlasting winter does not help him in this matter at all.
No, the everlasting winter over a decade will be the death of Icewind Dale. The only things here will be the ice-centric yetis and cold dragons but no humans. There's no food. There'd be no resources.
Right.
Once this place freezes over, this is a slow death to Icewind Dale.
So Jill Torbo looks at the other counselors and she says, "I'm voting yes to commute." Voss Anderton is sitting there thinking. He lights a pipe, and he's puffing on his pipe, and he says, if you were to, and let's just call it what it is, you're using Prisoner 237 as a tool, would you be looking for any kind of financial gain on your behalf by freeing Icewind Dale? Would you hold the 10 towns financially hostage for a reward?
You listen here, honey. All I want is what's due to me, and I put in the work. You're lucky we're thinking about saving your chili buns up here at all instead of retiring to somewhere more tropical and civilized.
Oh, Rhonda, I'm sure he didn't mean it as insulting as it sounded. I am old, and I have been wealthy. I am no longer motivated by money. I am trying to make things better in this for all. In some, perhaps, if I were to benefit, it might just be that I could redeem myself in a more spiritual way than just by getting rich. That is not my desire. I don't seek power. At my age, I don't think it would do me much good. Just wanting to end my life on a high note.
Crypt, how do you respond? Crypt?
Crypt is sleeping in the corner going, what?
Sorry. I still don't think we should release him.
You don't get a vote, I think, is the point that we've been making.
But
So that decision is not.
Response.
We just want to benefit if he is being released. We are not trying to press for his release. So the question to you.
Your script was, do you intend to, gain monetarily or financially from the situation?
Are you going to try to become the evil overlord of Icewind Dale if you find the lever that controls the cold?
No.
Whoa! That was the most unconvincing.
That's like an Archer response. No. No is the answer you're looking for, right? Then no.
Oh my. We are totally not making this easy on Chris. That's all.
No.
So, Voss Anderton says that he will vote yes, and it goes to the warden, and the warden says, what if we compromise? What if we release prisoner 237 into your care, and when this is all said and done, you can return him to Revel's End to continue to serve out his sentence?
I would be willing to do that, but
I think that's better than outright freedom.
I don't know I don't know that we have the ability to control an archmage that had the power to nearly take over this entire area.
Well, I will tell you, he's not really an archmage. He is a 5th level spellcaster.
Okay. Well, then that is good. But how do we are we to be, keep a prisoner as we travel for potentially months across a glacier? I don't know that I am a good warden. No offense,
I
Marta.
think it'd be decent.
How do you propose to keep him? I mean, if he uses a spell and disappears from our view, what are we going to do then? The only way that you're going to control him is by killing him or keeping him locked up. I don't know that we can keep control of him as we're out and about, unless you have a band that you can put on his wrist that suppresses his magic or something. Something like that.
We have such a thing. We have manacles that are affected by anti-magic that would limit his ability to cast spells.
Well, then perhaps we could. Then the next question is, why would he choose to help us if he's simply going to be returned back to prison?
Kriv Nerixia says, well, you don't necessarily have to tell him that part.
Feels rather underhanded.
He'll start to wonder about the manacles, don't you think?
Well, that could be because you don't trust him, and you should not trust him.
Is there any way in reality with us here that he can improve his situation for release? If he does help to restore Summer and he is returned to Revel's End and locked up, is there any advantage to him that we can truthfully say that he has a chance to recover his life or improve his life?
If that were the case in a hypothetical fantasy world, it would be a very big boon in his honor that, we would seriously start to look at releasing him if he were to do some good for the Dale. This could be his chance to rectify his situation and show us that he has good graces. It could also be a disaster.
Yes. And should he try to turn on us and escape, we may be forced to kill him. Because I'm not going to be in 100 miles of frozen hell and trying to control a prisoner as we try to survive.
Griff Neurexia says, you have to do what you have to do.
Well, I would say then that we be upfront with Valish Scant and tell him, with prisoner 237, and tell him that there is no guarantees, but that if he does help us, it will certainly look good on his permanent record. And let him decide if he's willing to do that, because we don't want an unwilling assistant.
True.
Absolutely not. And Rhonda doesn't care one way about it or another enough to, lie to this guy. That's bad for her honor. She's got standards.
Yeah.
So the warden says, please step into my office, wait there, and we will, the council and I will discuss this matter. And she leads you into R22. Prison records are stored here in 5 locked wooden cabinets along the east wall. The cabinets contain ship cargo manifests and records of past deliveries, as well as prisoner transfer orders and files documenting names, crimes, sentences, and commutations of every prisoner who has ever been incarcerated at Revel's End. There are also death certificates for prisoners who have died while incarcerated. However, the cause of death is always given as natural, accidental, or unnatural, with no details.
Right. Check boxes.
Right. A desk in the middle of the room has 10 financial ledgers packed into a locked side drawer, or into an unlocked side drawer. The warden then shuts the door, and you can hear murmuring voices outside in the council hall, which is called the Hall of Absolution. And after about 20 minutes of discussing, the warden comes over and opens the door to her office and says, please come back out. We have decided that we will release prisoner 237 into your custody, and should you succeed in this grand quest of yours, return to Revel's End, and we will discuss then the possibility of commutation given with whatever high marks that you can give on prisoner 237's behavior during this quest. Would that be acceptable to you?
Oh, more than acceptable. Yes.
So she takes you back downstairs, and she goes into the hub and she tells the guards, she says, open prisoner 237's cell. We are releasing him into the custody of these adventurers. And the guards are all like, and they're like, are you sure? She says, yes, I'm positive. Open the door. Okay, well, we weren't sure if you were drunk again or not. And so they open the door, and she says, prisoner 237, you are being released into the custody of these adventurers. And she goes in and she clamps down these manacles on his wrists. And she says, you will be bereft of all of your spellcasting abilities, and you will not receive your spell book or any material components that might be needed for spells. You are not here in a casting capacity. You are simply here for your knowledge. And she turns to you guys and she says, is this acceptable to you?
vote that Turpin takes all responsibility.
I'm gonna help the old man, but only because the old man, my friend.
Well, I will have the discussion with Baelish Camp and tell him what's up, because this was rather abrupt, and say this is voluntary on your end, and if you do participate and help us, we will let them know that you acted like an amazing paladin and saved this realm, and you may be able to parlay that to your advantage, but there's no guarantee. And if he's willing to help us out under those terms, we are happy to take him along with us and do our very best to take care of him.
Long story short, just behave, wizard, alright? Just don't do anything stupid.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh, I can wholeheartedly agree to that. I look forward to a brisk walk out in the freezing snow and blizzards. Oh, joy."
Well,
He says, "Our first stop should be to go back to wherever you left that albino tiefling Avarice and have a brief discussion with her."
okay. All right. So we'll sign whatever papers we have to.
Oh yeah, there are pages and pages of documents to sign in triplicate, and you are then released, and you head off into the snow. Hold on a moment here.
Boy, did you have to work your tail off to get that plot to advance.
No, you guys did pretty well.
Well, before we leave, Rhonda has to give everyone hugs and kisses and wave her handkerchief around and pretend to be very sad to be leaving everyone and wish them all a very happy winter.
Well, and we are. This is just we haven't used our 2 days, and your performance was interrupted. Just saying.
That's true. You could give another performance if you'd like.
Yeah, we should definitely give them a nice, clean, correct performance so that your reputation is not tarnished by a stupid dragon attack.
And then maybe at least Baelish can see who he's dealing with.
That's right.
The caliber of talent with whom he is now traveling.
And I'm gonna carve some bones.
Alright.
Well, you're going to try and learn Scrimshaw?
I already know some Scrimshaw because Goliath tried, but I want to get better at it.
So, it's funny because you say that you know some Scrimshaw. So,
Ish.
when I was a kid, there were three big toys that we all played with. There was Star Wars, G.I. Joe, and Transformers. And I was a big fan of G.I. Joe. And so now they're coming out the 25th anniversary action figures and whatnot, and I keep getting all these emails from Hasbro about them. And and I've been watching the news about all this stuff with Afghanistan going on, and I'm like, why didn't they ever come up with a G.I. Joe character that was a translator, and his code name could have been Sanskrit? I mean, like the most perfect action figure.
That would have been awesome.
That would have been awesome. I mean, totally awesome. I mean, the file card practically writes itself. But anyways, so are you going to give a farewell performance, Rhonda?
Yes.
0 successes. So you.
She used the wrong equal sign instead of plus.
Oh yeah. Oh my, yes.
So 22.
So, what kind of song are you singing, Rhonda? Are you going up to the very top of the tower and doing a dramatic performance?
Sure, yeah. We'll switch into the proper, Hilda the opera singer with the horned helm costume, because I carry around 3 different costumes.
Oh, yes.
It comes with my entertainers pack, so there you go. Why put on a show in the same costume twice?
So you climb all the way to the top of the tower, and indeed there is it looks like a drawbridge that will drop, but there's nothing on the other side except, a long fall from the top of the tower. This drawbridge that drops down is meant to be a gangplank for airships that come in. And you give this grand performance at the top of this tower with a 22. You're singing so loud that your voice is echoing off the glacier. And you can actually feel the ground rumble at certain points where there are obvious avalanches that have occurred on the glacier.
Avalanches down off the mountain.
And
yeah, that's right. Amateur performers can shatter a glass with their voice, but Rhonda can bring down mountains.
right. And you give this grand performance, and everybody, even the prisoners, when you're leaving, everybody's clapping. Even the prisoners are at their bars, are like, "Oh, that was a magnificent performance. Please, Miss Broadhorn, will you sign my hand?" As they're passing by, they're holding their hands out their cell doors.
I'll have my mage hand use a quill to go around the room signing little autographs on things.
Okay.
Instead of collecting tips, my very lovely manicured mage hand will go around signing things with a feathered quill.
So as
I
you...
like to... Go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
No, I like to think of a white velvet glove with lace on it that's for...
Disembodied. That's right.
Yes. Anyway.
And as she leaves, she's giving everybody, "Mwah, my darlings, oh my darlings, I promise I'll come again very, very soon. Oh, mwah, stay golden, my dear."
You guys begin to make your way back. Crypt, go ahead and make a survival check.
That's really good. That's 22.
All right. It takes you 1 week just to make it back to Bryn Shander. Blizzards come through, but you are lucky enough that you do not run into anything more dangerous in a blizzard. Although in a blizzard, you could get separated and lost, but your survival instinct is enough that you're smart enough to tie everybody together and make sure that nobody goes wandering off into the blinding snow. But after a week, you're able to arrive back at Bryn Shander here on the map. Now, you had left Avarice in Caer Dineval. And as you come into Bryn Shander, Valish Gant says, "Well, be good to stay the night in a warm bed, get a warm meal, maybe some ale, perhaps do a little shopping."
Yeah, none of that sounds bad. Throughout all of this, Turpin has tried to be very kind to Valish Gant in terms of prestidigitation to make his food taste better and make sure that he's got the winter clothes and stuff to keep him warm because he is deprived of his spells. So I'm trying to show him that he is not despised and at least give him room to act like a good person.
Go ahead and make a persuasion check with advantage.
Just trying to be nice so that he's not kicked out, feeling like, everybody's against me and hates me. So 23.
Right. Nice.
At least,
So yeah, it clearly works, and Gant seems to stick close to Turpin, and as you've been moving along this past week, he's even broken into a little bit of conversation with you, talking about that there was a woman named Velen Harpnell. Had powerful members of her family not pulled strings to get her into the Arcane Brotherhood, that old scarecrow would still be reanimating dead cats in Long Saddle.
Okay.
And he tells you some stories about somebody else named Nas Lantamir and how inadequate she was. And he ends up by saying, she's absolutely a nobody. I find her humorous, though. And so, as I said, you reach Bryn Shander. And you get a room at the North Look Inn and Tavern. The North Look, the room for the night will cost you 5 silver pieces. Don't forget, Gant doesn't have any money.
Right.
Rhonda offers to pay the bill for everyone and also offers to entertain.
Of course. Your entertainment is more than welcome.
She's been writing a new one on the entire trip back about an icy dragon. A really epic ballad.
Okay.
She's been inspired. It's a good one.
Go ahead and make a performance check.
Well, we'll see how inspired it is, I guess. Got a 19 plus 8, so 27.
Okay.
People like my dragon stories.
I'll use the opportunity
You
to.
love my dragon stories.
Yeah. I want to use the opportunity to fine-tune my illusions of dragons, although I can't make them full size.
Okay. So once again, Rhonda gives a magnificent performance, and while Rhonda is performing, the door to the Northlook Tavern opens up, and there's clearly a blizzard moving through. Snow comes whipping in, and the door shuts, and standing in the door is the town sheriff, Markham Southwell. And he quietly makes his way through the crowd as they're listening to Rhonda give her performance, and he comes over and he taps Crypt on the shoulder. He says, do you have a moment that I might speak with you?
Yes, good. Yes.
He says, this is a little embarrassing, but I request the need of your party's assistance.
Of course you will. Yeah, what do you need? What do you need?
Says,
Need me to fetch something? Need me to go kill some things? What?
in the southwest foothills of the Spine of the World Mountains, there is a Goblin Fortress. It is called Karkalok. It says the chief of that fortress has sent a messenger to Bryn Shander. And this messenger... hold on. Okay. He says this messenger claims that the chief of Karkalok, Yarb Nock, is giving us a potential peace treaty. He wants us to treat goblins like people.
Is that absurd in your opinion?
Well, Karkalok sends out raiders constantly, and they've raided many of our caravans. They've injured many of our people. I've had enough of Yarbnock. I would like your party to travel to Karkalok and bring me back Yarbnock's head.
I do not think that is a rash. I think that is a rash. And
Well,
It seems like that's quite jumpy of you.
well, you can go and determine Yarbnock's intentions, but I know that he's a goblin liar. But if you're willing to travel to Karkaloke and deal with this for the town of Bryn Shander, we'll pay each of you 300 gold pieces.
Well, I've heard stories of goblins and such creatures living peacefully in some of the more southern towns on the Sword Coast.
Yes, I've read those fictitious broadsheets myself.
They don't seem that fictitious to me.
Well, then forget that I said bring me his head, but at least travel to Karkaloke and determine his intentions. And if you do that, whether you kill him or you agree to sign this peace treaty, we'll pay you 300 gold pieces each to do so.
Very well.
Says, thank you, sir. And he sits and enjoys the rest of Kronda's performance. Are you going to whisper to everybody else at the table?
Yeah.
And tell them about this?
I am.
Who is this guy that?
He's the town. He's the town sheriff. His name is Markham Southwell. He's the sheriff of Bryn Shander.
All right, and does he have the authority to send a hit squad to the goblins?
Oh yes, this comes down from the very tip top, from the speaker. In fact, he just came from the speaker's house to discuss this matter. The speaker of Bryn Shander is Devessa Shane. And Devessa Shane is pretty famous in 10 Towns, being that she is in Bryn Shander, which is not necessarily the largest town, but it is the walled town in the 10 Towns region where everybody comes during a time of distress. So she's not really the leader of the 10 Towns, but everybody pays attention to Devessa Shane.
Right.
And she herself is an ex-adventurer.
All right. So, I mean, if we're being sent to assassinate or just start a war with the goblins, or to carry on a war with the goblins and kill this guy, that's one thing. If we're being sent to negotiate, perhaps...
Well, to determine his intentions. To see if they're true.
And if they are true, return and say that we believe the guy?
Correct. Or even bring him back here.
Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, because we don't have enough information to negotiate terms.
Right. So, and Valish Gant kind of leans in and he goes, "Oh, how exciting! We're going to go on an adventure." Says, first, though, I do need to speak to the Avarice in Caer Dineval, and we may want to check on that Red Wizard in East Haven. But beyond that, yes, I am 100% for going on this adventure to a Goblin Fortress. Oh, how exciting!
Well, I am surprised and happy that this would be fun for you, and we'll. So yeah, we'll come on and we'll do our best to make sure that it stays fun.
So
and
with
not blood and pain and bones poking out, stuff like that.
right. So with that, we will break here this week. And next week we will pick up with the discussion with Avarice and Caer Dineval and move on to East Haven to find out about Dazan, the Red Wizard of Thay. He does tell you, he tells Turpin, or Gant tells Turpin, that The Red Wizard, he says, normally, he says, Red Wizards are known for shaving their heads and having tattoos on their heads and wearing red robes. He says, Dazan doesn't shave his head or wear red robes, but that doesn't change the fact that he's a Thayan. Red Wizards want the weave all to themselves. If they get it, if they get what they want, no one else will ever be able to use magic. So it's important to talk to this gentleman and see where his legions lie and see if there's any more Red Wizards in the area that we'll have to contend with. I don't really want us walking into the Lost Spire of Netheril and running into a coven of red wizards and their witches and their undead.
Good advice. That's excellent. We're so glad that we brought you along.
All right, we will pick this up next week. Same time, 6 o'clock. I'm sorry, what was that?
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say I want to send the tip jar around the room at the end of my performance.
Oh, yes. And let's see here. You make...
Enough to buy everybody around. Drinks on the house for Rhonda Broadhorn.
Yes, you make 13 gold pieces. You did quite well.
Oh, yeah. Probably the fact that they were not only tipping you, but funding the next free round helped.
Well, and you gave they're kind of trapped inside the Northlook Tavern because there is currently a blizzard going on outside. So at least you gave them something to entertain them and something to look forward to.
Yeah, we can specialize in songs of spring and summer with imagery of growing plants and green things as opposed to
constant white. Yes.
dark frozen white.
Yes.
All right, thanks everybody.
Oh, and before I forget, you all get 5th level.
Yay! And the crowd
Yay! Extra attack.
Right on, guys. We'll catch you next
All right.
week.
Yep. See you next week, guys.
Thanks again. Appreciate it, Chris.
No problem.